Ever found yourself wondering about the bedrock wisdom behind one of the most profoundly impactful approaches to personal transformation our modern world has seen?
Mhm.
You know, those often whispered about principles that don't just help individuals reclaim their own lives, but also empower them to become a literal lifeline, a beacon of hope for countless others seeking that same freedom.
Yeah,
It's a powerful idea, and it has roots that run surprisingly deep.
indeed. And that's precisely our focus today. We're embarking on a deep dive into working with others, a concept that is not merely altruistic, but foundational to enduring personal change.
Right.
Our mission is to unpack the practical advice, the philosophical underpinnings, and, well, the profound personal growth that emerges when we commit to guiding someone through their darkest times.
Hmm.
We'll explore what this delicate yet powerful act means for both the helper and the one being helped, tracing the journey from that first admission of powerlessness all the way to the intricate dance of offering support, and even the wisdom in knowing when and how to step back. It's an exploration of empathy, strategy, and ultimately self-discovery.
And to guide us on this journey, we've pulled together an incredible stack of sources. We're drawing primarily from the rich tapestry of early Alcoholics Anonymous history, treating Chapter 7 of the Big Book, also titled Working with Others, as our kind of original and essential guide for how early members approached what we now call sponsorship.
Exactly. The source text, really.
But we're not stopping there. We've also woven in insights from personal narratives in A Woman's Way Through the 12 Steps and Blackout, historical accounts from Alcoholics Anonymous Comes of Age, and Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, as well as daily reflections, the Little Red Book Study Guide, and even philosophical texts like Augustine's Confessions.
It's quite a mix.
It's a truly unique blend that offers a masterclass in the principles of the 12th step, showing us how these powerful ideas came to be and how they continue to resonate today.
Yeah, how they actually work in practice.
Okay, let's unpack this crucial starting point. Before we can even begin to think about the act of working with others, we absolutely have to understand the mental and emotional state of the person seeking help.
That's fundamental.
Our sources make it abundantly clear. Recovery, especially in the context of AA, begins with step 1.
Step one. Yeah.
This foundational step is all about admitting powerlessness over alcohol, or whatever the overwhelming challenge might be, and recognizing that one's life has become unmanageable.
Right. The twin elements.
Now, for some, this isn't some grand, earth-shattering revelation. It's simply a stark admission of what they already know deep down.
They see it. It's obvious to them.
They can't control their drinking or using, and their lives are demonstrably spiraling out of control. It's that critical first step, a moment of brutal honesty where the illusion of self-control finally shatters into a million pieces.
What's truly fascinating here, and I think this is where the universal resonance comes in, is just how relatable this starting point is for so many human struggles.
Not just addiction.
Exactly. Whether you're grappling with a literal addiction, a career that feels utterly out of control, a relationship that's constantly in chaos, or, any situation where your best efforts seem to lead nowhere.
Right.
That moment of admitting you can't control it, that's where the real transformative work truly begins.
It feels like surrender, maybe?
Well, it's not about weakness, as is often misunderstood.
Yeah.
In fact, as one woman eloquently put it, admitting powerlessness over alcohol is really a way to keep the power I do have.
Ah, interesting. So it's a reframing.
It's about wisely redirecting your focus, understanding that you can only control your own choices and responses, rather than trying to dictate external circumstances or other people.
Right.
This perspective utterly redefines what power means, shifting it from a futile struggle for external control to an empowering act of internal mastery, self-preservation, and genuine growth.
So it transforms what seems like surrender.
Into a strategic and profoundly liberating act, yes.
That makes so much sense. Think about the sheer exhaustion of constantly trying to maintain an illusion. Our sources give us such vivid pictures of this.
You really do.
Take the woman who, after years of trying to control her drinking, found herself caught in this exact paradox. She recounts running across Harvard Square after a couple of glasses of wine, catching a glimpse of herself in a store window and wondering, am I as together as I look, or am I going crazy?
Wow. that moment of disconnect.
Or another who, after countless promises to herself that she'd cut down, only to find herself back in a smoke-filled church basement thinking, no way in hell I'm doing this.
The cycle.
This isn't just about the external chaos, it's about that deep-seated denial, that internal cycle of remorse, inferiority, followed inevitably by more drinking. It's a self-perpetuating loop of desperation and isolation, where they make promises they cannot keep, spiraling further and further into despair. It's truly heartbreaking to witness.
And that, right there, raises a critical question for us as potential helpers. How can someone possibly help another if the person being helped is so deeply entrenched in that denial or simply unable to accept their situation as it truly is?
How do you break through?
Our sources are very clear on this. For the alcoholic, their most cherished values, his honesty, integrity, self-discipline, even his love for his family, are repeatedly overthrown because he cannot reliably predict or control his own drinking behavior.
They lose themselves.
They become, in a very real sense, innocent victims of a disease, not morally or psychologically defective individuals. Understanding this distinction is absolutely crucial.
It's not a character flaw.
The addiction itself, particularly with alcohol, quite literally hijacks their decision-making processes, making rational choice impossible while under its influence. This deeper, compassionate understanding is the key for the helper.
Okay.
It fosters empathy rather than judgment, allowing us to recognize the true nature of the battle being fought within the individual rather than seeing it as a moral failing.
And the narratives paint such a stark picture of the consequences of this internal battle. Many accounts detail lives in absolute disarray, losing jobs, money, family, experiencing severe physical and emotional deterioration.
Total unmanageability.
One individual, speaking of his life before recovery, described losing his business, drinking up all his money, and his wife griping and cussing, which just made him want to get away from it all.
Yeah, that downward spiral.
Another started taking drinks first thing in the morning, missed work repeatedly, began to hallucinate, and eventually ended up in the hospital, convinced they weren't crazy or an alcoholic because in their mind they were too young for such problems.
The denial. Again, even with extreme evidence.
These aren't isolated, dramatic anecdotes. They are common threads, illustrating the truly destructive path of unchecked addiction, where even the most basic elements of life, work, relationships, mental clarity crumble. The denial, as you said, often runs so incredibly deep that even when faced with dire consequences, the individual struggles immensely to connect their suffering to their drinking.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's clear that many people finally come to AA, or any turning point in their lives, having hit a profound bottom.
Rock bottom.
They feel like a derelict floating around in a sea of booze, self-pity, misery, and hate. But here's where the perspective shifts. The revelation that their life has always been unmanageable.
Always. Even before the worst of it.
Yes, even during periods when they were clean and dry or not actively indulging can be an incredibly significant turning point. It's described in one account as a big rock being lifted off them.
Wow, that's huge.
This isn't just about stopping a specific behavior. It's about recognizing a deeper underlying pattern of unmanageability that often predates active addiction.
So it's not just the drinking.
Right. This broader understanding opens the door to a more holistic recovery, addressing not just the symptom, but the underlying conditions. This deeper self-awareness often frees them from the crushing burden of self-blame, making them finally receptive to accepting help.
Takes the shame away, maybe.
It can, yes. It's a recognition that their own strategies for control have simply not worked, and a new paradigm is desperately needed.
That phrase, "my life's unmanageable," really is a cornerstone, isn't it?
It truly is.
One person, recounting their own experience, said, "When I got to AA, I found out I could say, my life's unmanageable. I looked back, and it always had been."
That moment of clarity.
That realization, that moment of honest self-assessment is a crucial step towards finally opening up to help. It's the point where the inner struggle for control gives way to an acceptance of reality, paving the way for external support and, most importantly, internal change.
It's admitting defeat, in one sense.
But opening the door to victory in another. It's an admission that all the strategies, all the willpower, all the self-deception employed thus far have failed, and that a radically new approach is not just desired, but absolutely necessary.
Precisely.
So we've talked about the state of the person needing help, but what about the other side of the equation? What does this all mean for the person extending the hand for the helper?
Yes, the motivation of the helper. Early AA. deeply influenced by a spiritual movement known as the Oxford Group, which emphasized honest self-appraisal, confession, and sharing personal change, understood that simply lecturing someone wasn't effective.
They learned that quickly.
Instead, they recognized the profound importance of sharing one's own experiences. It wasn't about preaching a sermon, but about recounting a personal journey of transformation, a relatable story of change.
Telling your story.
Our sources even cite Paul's method of founding a church by telling his own story as an example, demonstrating how this personal narrative approach led to modern miracles of change across all walks of life: big sinners, key men, intellectuals, and commoners.
It cuts across all barriers.
This method emphasized relatable narratives over dogmatic instruction, making the message incredibly accessible and powerful. It truly highlighted the transformative power of lived experience, showing that change was possible for anyone.
And Dr. Bob, one of AA's co-founders, really honed in on this. He had a crucial insight that a spiritual approach was as useless as any other if you soaked it up like a sponge and kept it to yourself.
You can't hoard it.
Exactly. His conviction was that the true purpose of life wasn't just to get, but rather to give. This represented a foundational shift in thinking, moving away from self-absorption and towards service as a core principle.
Service, okay.
This principle, which became central to AA, underscored that sobriety wasn't merely a personal achievement to be guarded jealously, but a profound responsibility to those who still suffered.
Our responsibility.
It created a powerful feedback loop, where the act of helping others didn't just benefit the recipient, but also solidified the helper's own recovery. It moved beyond individual healing to a communal commitment, realizing that mutual aid was the engine of sustained change.
And here's where it gets truly, truly insightful. The sources suggest that for those early AA members, carrying the message, extending that hand, wasn't just a charitable act they might do if they felt like it.
Not optional.
No, it was considered absolutely essential for their own sobriety. The Big Book explicitly states working with other alcoholics was essential to their own sobriety.
Right there in black and white. Chapter 7.
This is a profound concept that often gets overlooked. It implies that the act of helping becomes a cornerstone of one's own ongoing recovery, creating a vital, self-sustaining cycle. It's a recognition that by giving freely of your time, your experience, your hope, you are in fact receiving something equally, if not more, precious, the strengthening of your own foundation.
Keeps you sober.
This symbiotic relationship ensures that the message continues to be carried not just out of altruism, but out of a deep, personal, and profoundly effective necessity. It's a beautiful paradox, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And this concept of working with others directly ties into what AA calls its third legacy: service.
The third legacy.
For those unfamiliar, AA developed 3 legacies, core pillars, hammered out through a painstaking process of trial and error over many years. These are recovery, how individuals get sober and stay sober; unity, how the groups function together and resolve differences; and service, this crucial act of helping others.
Recovery, unity, service.
It wasn't an overnight revelation or a neatly packaged doctrine. These principles were forged in the crucible of countless experiences, observing what truly worked and what didn't in fostering lasting sobriety and building a cohesive, supportive community.
Learn the hard way.
These legacies, therefore, represent the collective wisdom of those early members, serving as a guiding light for future generations.
So if we drill down a bit, this raises an important question. Why exactly is service so vital for the helper? Beyond the altruism, what's in it for them?
Yeah, the benefits for the one doing the helping?
Our sources offer several compelling reasons. They suggest it helps members avoid complacency, that dangerous feeling of, I'm fixed now, I don't need to do anything else.
Oh yeah, the pink cloud can fade.
It forces them to gain perspective, taking their focus off their own perceived problems. Talking with newcomers brings me back to reality, one account states.
Gets you out of your own head.
When we reach out, we see our past struggles, our past selves, straight in the face, and often in that act, a miracle happens. We become healed.
Become healed. Powerful words.
The Big Book goes as far as to say, my problems vanish as I reach out to this trembling soul.
Wow.
It's an immediate, visceral feedback loop of seeing one's own past struggles mirrored in the eyes of a newcomer, and then experiencing the profound relief and gratitude they find. This provides a powerful, constant reinforcement of one's own recovery, fostering continuous humility and gratitude.
Think about that for a moment. You, the listener, your own healing, your own growth is intricately linked to helping others.
It's not a one-way street.
Not at all. It's not just an external act you perform for someone else's benefit. It's an internal transformation that primarily benefits you.
Yeah.
Your misfortune has become your good fortune, leading to moments of insight which draw him closer to his fellows and to his maker.
Turning pain into purpose.
Exactly. This reciprocal relationship underscores a core tenet of many wisdom traditions, not just AA, that service is not a sacrifice, but a profound gift. It offers deeper meaning, purpose, and connection to both the giver and the receiver.
Pulls you out of yourself.
It pulls you out of self-centeredness and into a broader, more meaningful existence.
Now that we understand the why behind reaching out, let's talk about the how. When approaching someone struggling, our sources are crystal clear. The key isn't to lecture, to preach, or even to persuade through logical arguments.
Yeah, soapboxing.
It's about sharing. The early Akron members, for instance, used this approach masterfully. Consider the groups of 2 or 3 men who visited Bobby, who became AA Tag 12.
An early success story.
Our sources note they didn't say anything about what I had to do. They just introduced themselves and started telling me their experiences.
They share their stories. Simple.
They didn't come with a rigid agenda. Instead, they focused on deeply human, relatable topics like resentment and self-pity, and perhaps surprisingly, they left him feeling refreshed.
Not beaten down, but refreshed. That's key.
This gentle, soft approach, rooted entirely in personal narrative, allowed the suffering individual to identify with the speakers rather than feeling judged, interrogated, or pressured.
Building rapport.
It created a safe, non-confrontational space for genuine connection, building trust through shared vulnerability and mutual understanding.
What's profoundly fascinating here is the sheer power of identification. For someone in the throes of addiction, often feeling uniquely alone and misunderstood.
Like nobody gets it.
Exactly. Hearing another person say, here were people who had thought and felt as I had, here was the understanding I'd been searching for all my life, is revolutionary.
Finding your tribe.
This immediate shared experience creates an incredibly safe space, helping the newcomer to finally let down their guard and make the courageous decision to stop drinking.
That connection makes the difference.
This connection is paramount because it breaks down the alcoholic's profound sense of isolation and their often deeply held belief in their own uniqueness that no one else could possibly understand what they're going through.
Terminal uniqueness, they sometimes call it.
Right. When they realize they are not alone, that others have walked this exact path and found a way out, it reveals a common experience that can be overcome collectively. It's the moment of recognition that a solution might finally be within reach, fostering a sense of hope that had previously been extinguished.
And the practicalities of this initial contact are just as important as the emotional connection. The sources offer very specific, strategic advice for what's known as a 12th step call, which is essentially reaching out to someone who is still suffering.
The nuts and bolts.
First, they advise not to go alone. Bringing another person adds support and perspective.
Safety in numbers and shared experience.
And critically, they state, it is often a waste of time to talk to someone while they are drunk.
Wait until they're sober, or at least hungover.
The best time is the morning after, when they are hungover and most contrite. This isn't about being judgmental. It emphasizes empathy and strategic timing.
Meeting them where they are.
Recognizing that an individual in active intoxication is simply not receptive to a message of recovery. Their defenses are up, their judgment clouded. Approaching them when they are experiencing the direct, painful consequences of their drinking in a state of regret and discomfort often makes them far more open to considering a different path.
A window of opportunity.
It's about meeting them precisely where they are, both physically and emotionally, when they are most likely to hear and internalize the message.
Makes sense.
Beyond individual interactions, early AA learned some incredibly important lessons about public relations and how the fellowship should present itself to the world.
How to engage with the outside.
Their guiding principle became, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion.
Attraction, not promotion. Big difference.
This is a crucial distinction. It means maintaining personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films to prevent what they call the promoter instinct from ever undoing the fellowship.
Protecting the message and the members.
This wasn't just a suggestion, but a hard-won principle, painstakingly designed to protect the integrity, focus, and effectiveness of AA.
Yeah.
The fundamental idea was to attract people through the visible, undeniable results of recovery in its members, rather than through celebrity endorsements, grand public campaigns, or any form of self-aggrandizing publicity.
Let the results speak for themselves.
It's about letting the transformation speak for itself.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, This principle of anonymity provides a vital protection for all members from identification as alcoholics, a safeguard often of special importance to newcomers.
Reduces the stigma.
Absolutely. Imagine the fear and stigma many face. Anonymity allows them to seek help without public exposure. Beyond that, it stresses equality in the fellowship, ensuring that no single individual or personality becomes bigger or more important than the message itself.
No.
Exactly. It prevents individuals from exploiting their AA affiliation for personal gain, whether that's fame, money, or power. This, you see, is real humility at work, a deliberate act of placing principles before personalities.
Principles before personalities.
This tradition ensures that the focus remains steadfastly on the message of recovery and mutual aid, rather than on the individual delivering it. This safeguards the unity and purpose of the organization from potential disruptions caused by ego, external pressures, or commercial interests.
The history of early AA is actually full of cautionary tales that solidified this commitment. For example, there was an educational enterprise that tried to put on drives for money, explicitly using the AA name, which naturally confused contributors and blurred the lines between their purpose and AA's.
Creates confusion, undermines trust.
Even more dramatically, one account tells of a friend who threatened to use AA's name on a radio show for a commercial sponsor. The response:
What happened?
a swift deterrent in the form of a threat of several thousand letters of objection from AA members.
Wow, collective action.
These incidents weren't just minor hiccups. They demonstrated the critical, almost existential need for strict adherence to anonymity and non-professionalism. It was about preventing the fellowship from being exploited, diluted, or misrepresented, thereby ensuring its continued ability to focus solely on its primary purpose of helping suffering alcoholics.
Protecting the core mission at all costs.
And here's where we pivot to what, for many, is the truly transformative yet often challenging aspect of this process, the spiritual dimension.
Yeah, the higher power concept.
The sources repeatedly emphasize that we alcoholics can't get sober by our willpower, period.
Willpower isn't enough.
One must submit to God's will. This is the core idea of step 3. Now, this concept of submission is often misunderstood as weakness.
People bristle at submission.
But within AA, it's reframed as the chief source of strength. Many individuals, after years of trying various psychological and psychiatric approaches, found that in AA, they learned a fundamental truth. It's what he wants, not what you want.
Letting go of self-will.
This redirection of will, moving from self-centered desires and the stubborn insistence on one's own way to aligning with a higher purpose, is presented as the absolutely crucial turning point. It's an acknowledgement of the inherent limits of human self-reliance when faced with an overwhelming challenge like addiction. It's a profound shift in perspective, moving from a relentless, often losing battle against oneself to an alignment with a greater power that can, seemingly, achieve the impossible.
This raises an incredibly important question about the nature of this higher power. The sources are remarkably inclusive and flexible here, which is key to its universal appeal.
It's not prescriptive.
Not at all. They acknowledge that dependence upon a higher power, if only our AA group would do this hitherto impossible job.
Even the group itself can be that power.
Yes. This means that the concept isn't rigidly defined as a specific deity or dogma. It's about a spirituality open to a new kinship with God, one that is deeply personal and evolves over time.
Your own understanding.
For those who initially reject the God bit, the reassurance is that the belief will come. The emphasis is on developing a personal understanding of this power, recognizing that it can manifest in various forms, from a traditional religious deity to the overarching power of the universe to the collective strength, wisdom, and loving support of the group itself.
So it's very adaptable.
This inclusivity ensures that individuals from diverse backgrounds and belief systems can find a spiritual path within the program, making it accessible to virtually anyone willing to try. It's a profound invitation to release the burden of sole responsibility.
So whether you ultimately define it as God, or perhaps good orderly direction, a wonderful acronym, by the way.
GOD, yeah.
Or simply the collective group conscience of your community, the core idea, the really profound takeaway, is letting go of that often destructive self-will.
That's the heart of it.
It's about moving from a mindset of, I have to do this all myself, to, I can't do this alone and I don't have to. One person recounted their profound realization. Every time there's something I can't handle, I can turn to God and say, here, take this. I did it. And it worked.
That act of turning it over.
This simple yet profound act of surrender, a willingness to release control and trust in something beyond one's own limited capacity, is presented as the pathway to inner peace and remarkably effective problem solving.
It's finding strength and letting go.
It's about trusting that there is a force, whether internal or external, that can guide and support when individual effort, no matter how valiant, inevitably falls short. And maintaining this spiritual connection, this reliance on something greater, requires consistent practice. Prayer and meditation are consistently highlighted throughout our sources as absolutely essential for maintaining one's spiritual condition.
Daily practice. Step 11.
It's not just about making petitions or asking for things, though that can be part of it. More deeply, it's about finding real relaxation and serenity, and cultivating a deep sense of the fundamental goodness of the universe.
Finding that quiet center.
These practices are seen as vital daily tools for ongoing spiritual connection and inner peace, providing a crucial reprieve from the relentless anxieties and stresses of life.
Like recharging your spiritual batteries.
It's a conscious, intentional effort to cultivate a state of calm and receptivity, allowing for a deeper understanding of oneself and the world around you, far from the frantic pace of modern life.
What's truly fascinating here, especially when we look at the broader philosophical context, is how this practice of quiet reflection directly counters what Augustine, the philosopher and theologian, described as the lust of the eyes.
Lust of the eyes. What's that?
He spoke of it as a certain vain and curious longing in the soul, rooted in the same bodily senses, which is cloaked under the name of knowledge and learning.
Sounds like information overload. Doom scrolling.
Exactly. In today's terms, that sounds a lot like endless scrolling, chasing external validation or getting lost in superficial distractions. Instead, this dedicated quiet time, this spiritual practice, brings about inner guiding, which we call intuition.
Ah, intuition.
It marks a profound journey from external seeking, constantly looking for answers or gratification outside ourselves, to internal wisdom. It's about distinguishing between superficial curiosity and profound spiritual insight, encouraging a turning inward to seek guidance and truth from a deeper source.
Instead of chasing noise.
Right. Rather than endlessly chasing fleeting external stimuli, it's a pathway to genuine discernment.
And the results of this practice, even in those quiet half hours, are described as truly restorative. They're credited with restoring me to sanity and leading to the peace and power of my God.
Restoring sanity, that says a lot.
As another member put it, personal contact with God, as we understand him, will day to day bring us nearer to an understanding of his will for us. This consistent, dedicated practice of prayer and meditation isn't just a healthy habit. It's presented as a lifeline. Essential maintenance.
It offers a daily recalibration, a spiritual reset, and a renewed sense of purpose and direction. It provides a sanctuary for reflection and a clear pathway to a more intuitive, guided, and ultimately more serene life.
Yeah, vital for staying the course.
Okay, we've covered the initial approach and the spiritual foundation, but what happens when the rubber meets the road? What do you do when the person you're genuinely trying to help isn't ready, or worse, actively resists your efforts?
Yeah, the difficult cases, the resistance.
Our sources are incredibly pragmatic here, reflecting the tough realities faced by early AA members. They make it clear that alcoholics are apt to be extremely stubborn people.
Understatement, perhaps.
And from a practical standpoint, it's often a waste of time to talk to someone while they are drunk. This isn't a judgment, but rather straightforward, experience-based advice.
Learn from experience. Don't waste your breath. It underscores the importance of patience and choosing the right moment, acknowledging the powerful denial and ingrained resistance inherent in active action. It's a crucial reminder that forcing the issue is usually counterproductive and can, ironically, push someone further away from the help they desperately need.
You can't force recovery on someone.
It's like trying to teach calculus to someone who's barely awake. It's simply not going to land.
This immediately brings up a critically important concept, especially for family and friends of those struggling, the idea of enabling.
Ah, enabling, yes.
From Al-Anon's perspective, a program specifically for the families and friends of alcoholics, making excuses for the alcoholic or covering bad checks, is a classic example of enabling.
Shielding them from consequences.
It unintentionally allows the destructive behavior to continue without immediate natural consequences. A more compassionate, yet often incredibly difficult way to help is to allow them to face the consequences of their actions, even when it will cause them pain.
Self-love.
This is what's beautifully and painfully termed detachment with love. This concept is absolutely crucial for the helper, emphasizing the need to protect one's own well-being and maintain healthy boundaries while still caring deeply for the suffering individual.
Detachment with love, not just detachment.
Exactly. It's about fostering accountability, even if it feels counterintuitive and difficult in the moment, rather than inadvertently prolonging the destructive cycle. It's saying, I love you, but I won't participate in your self-destruction.
Exactly. This isn't about being uncaring, cold, or abandoning someone. Far from it. It's about respecting the other person's journey, recognizing their agency, while simultaneously protecting your own sanity and well-being.
Protecting yourself is key, too.
It's tough love, but it is love. One powerful account speaks of how important it was for a family member to set a clear boundary, articulating their pain. Look, I'll try to love you again. I hate you now, but I'll try to love you again as long as you don't drink. But you drink, and I'm going to leave you.
Wow, that's incredibly direct. Painful, but clear.
This raw honesty and firm boundary, while undoubtedly painful for everyone involved, can sometimes be the absolute catalyst for the other person to finally seek help.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
It presents a clear choice with very real, immediate consequences. It demonstrates a love strong enough to refuse to participate in their self-destruction, and that, paradoxically, can be the most loving act of all. So when someone isn't yet receptive, when they push back or simply aren't ready, what's the recommended course of action for the helper?
What do you do then?
Our sources advise a patient strategy: plant the seed. He should be given the idea as a suggestion and then left alone to think it over.
Plant the seed and walk away. For now.
The wisdom here is that true action, genuine change, may only result after some particularly depressing series of events has brought vividly home to him the futility of trying to continue drinking.
They have to see it for themselves.
Right.
Reach their own bottom.
This patient, non-coercive approach acknowledges that readiness for recovery is a deeply personal journey, and it's often precipitated by hitting what many call a rock-bottom experience. The helper's role, then, is not to impose a solution, but to offer it gently, share their experience, and then step back.
Make the offer. Be available.
Making themselves available when the time is truly right for the individual to reach out.
This is precisely where the profound wisdom of carrying the message, not the drunk, comes into play. It's a core tenet.
Carry the message, not the drunk. Explain that.
The focus shifts entirely from the immediate outcome, getting that person sober right now, to the long-term potential of the message itself. As one person eloquently put it, my own experience is teaching you to trust this wonderful recovery process. All I have to do is pay attention.
Trust the process.
This principle reinforces the idea that an individual cannot be fixed or forced into sobriety by another person. They must embark on their own journey, take their own steps when they are ready.
You can't do it for them.
It's about having faith in the inherent capacity for change within the individual and in the power of the recovery process itself, rather than becoming overly attached to a specific timeline or outcome. It's a hard lesson in humility for the helper, realizing that you are merely a guide, not a savior.
And the historical accounts underscore this reality. One narrative describes how early Cleveland AA groups valiantly 12th-stepped grunks going out to help them, but they found that growth was slow.
It wasn't always successful immediately.
And really difficult cases were often sent to Dr. Bob himself, highlighting that not every person will immediately respond. Some require intense, individualized care, and sometimes, even then, it doesn't stick the first time.
Perseverance was needed.
This illustrates the varying degrees of readiness, the deeply entrenched nature of the illness, and the intense effort sometimes required, even by experienced individuals, to support those in the deepest throes of their addiction. It's a powerful testament to perseverance, compassion, and the understanding that setbacks are often part of the long, winding road to recovery. So far, we focused a lot on the person seeking help and the initial approach. But let's turn the lens back onto the helper.
Yes, the helper's own journey.
The act of working with others isn't a one-time event or a task to be checked off a list. It's an integral part of a continuous process of self-improvement for the helper. This is embodied in Step 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it.
Ongoing maintenance. Daily inventory.
This is described as the acid test of staying sober and emotionally balanced. For the helper, service is not just about the other person. It becomes a constant mirror, reflecting their own spiritual condition, their own character defects, and their own areas for growth.
Keeps you honest with yourself.
This ongoing self-assessment ensures that the helper remains grounded, humble, and continues their own recovery journey, preventing the very complacency that can lead to relapse. It's a profound self-regulating mechanism.
What's truly fascinating here is the reciprocal nature of this. The sources emphasize that a continuous look at our assets and liabilities and a real desire to learn and grow are necessities for us.
Not just nice-to-haves, but necessities.
Right. This isn't a self-flagellating exercise, but a practical tool for sustained well-being. As one account so powerfully notes, "My problems vanish as I reach out to this trembling soul."
Vanish. That's strong.
The act of helping reinforces one's own recovery by shifting focus from self-preoccupation, that internal monologue of worries and grievances, to compassion and outward service. This very act of turning outwards dramatically reduces the intensity of personal difficulty.
It's the focus of me.
Exactly. This altruistic engagement becomes a powerful, almost alchemical mechanism for personal healing and sustained sobriety, demonstrating that beautiful, reciprocal nature of the 12th step: you give, and in doing so, you receive.
And before a helper can truly be effective in guiding others, they must first address their own house.
Clean up your own side of the street first.
Our sources explain that one must address their own defective relations with other human beings, which are nearly always the immediate cause of our woes, including our alcoholism.
The wreckage of the past.
This isn't just a suggestion, it's a prerequisite. Step 8 calls for making a comprehensive list of all persons one has harmed and becoming willing to make amends to them.
Making the list. Willingness.
Then, step 9 is about actually making direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others.
Taking action, but with care.
This foundational, often arduous work ensures that the helper approaches others with a clean slate, genuine integrity, and a heart free from unresolved resentments, guilt, or shame.
Can't effectively guide others if you're weighed down by your own stuff.
It's a deep personal clearing that prepares them not just for effective service, but for true, authentic connection.
This raises an important question. What's the true purpose of these amends? It's often misunderstood as simply saying, "I'm sorry," to make oneself feel better.
Right, like it's just for the person making the amends.
But our sources clarify that it's not to make us feel or look good, but to provide restitution where that's appropriate. Beyond that, making amends serves a crucial function in helping to disentangle your personal boundaries from those of another person, getting a clearer sense of where your limits are or need to be.
Ah, boundaries again. Important.
It's about taking responsibility for your side of the street. This process isn't just about repairing past damage, it's also about establishing healthier relational patterns and a clearer sense of self,
Learning how to relate differently.
which are absolutely essential for both personal well-being and for being an effective, grounded helper. It fosters what we call authentic and intimate relationships with healthy detachment.
This deeply personal work of repairing past harms is crucial not only for the helper's inner peace, but also for developing the clarity, integrity, and genuine humility needed to effectively guide others.
You walk the talk.
The fears of how we will look to others should neither drive this step nor inhibit it. It demands immense courage, brutal honesty, and a willingness to prioritize spiritual healing over personal comfort or the fear of judgment.
Takes real guts.
This entire process equips the helper with an invaluable depth of empathy, a renewed sense of purpose, and an undeniable integrity, making them a far more effective and compassionate guide for those who are just beginning their own journey. It builds character, pure and simple.
Makes you a better person, essentially.
As we broaden our scope, let's consider the wider context beyond the individual helper and the individual seeking help, the group, the fellowship itself.
The importance of unity, the second legacy.
Our sources explain that early AA, as a fledgling organization, was beset by problems on every side and in every group. It wasn't a smooth, seamless launch by any means.
Growing pains, big time.
But out of these shared struggles, a powerful conviction grew that AAs had to hang together or die separately.
Unity or death, stark choice.
This profound realization led to the evolving principles that govern not just individuals, but entire groups, known as the 12 traditions.
The traditions, guiding principles for the groups.
This collective understanding, born out of necessity and shared struggle, literally forged the traditions that safeguard the fellowship's unity and, ultimately, its survival. It was a recognition that individual sobriety was intrinsically linked to the health, cohesion, and shared purpose of the wider community.
Couldn't survive alone, needed the group.
It was the birth of a collective consciousness.
What's absolutely fascinating here is how this collective consciousness manifests through what's called the group conscience, the principle states. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience.
God expressing himself through the group conscience. Interesting.
This isn't about rigid dogma from on high, but about a spiritual democracy. This collective wisdom, rather than individual power struggles or charismatic leadership, acts as the ultimate guiding force, ensuring the fellowship's survival and its effectiveness.
So the group decides, guided by a higher power.
Essentially, yes. This principle prevents any single individual from dominating the organization, upholding a democratic and spiritual approach to governance, and ensuring that decisions are made for the greater good of all members rather than for personal agendas. It's a remarkable model of shared leadership and collective responsibility.
And the path to establishing this group conscience wasn't without its challenges, even for the founders. Even Bill W., one of the co-founders, encountered heavy opposition to the creation of our World Trusteeship in 1938 to the publication of our textbook Alcoholics Anonymous in 1939.
Opposition to the big book.
Really?
Yes, and fierce resistance to the General Service Conference, which governs the fellowship today. These were not minor disagreements. They were seen as complex ventures that many feared might be too much for us, threatening the nascent movement.
Fear of structure, maybe. Fear of losing the original spirit.
Perhaps. Yet, as our sources state, we can now thank God that we finally did face and accept those vital and clear-cut responsibilities.
You push through the fear. This shows us that evolution and growth, even within a spiritually minded organization, often come with internal resistance, highlighting the journey of collective acceptance and shared responsibility that ultimately shaped AA into the global force for good it is today.
A lesson in trusting the process, even at the group level.
It's a powerful lesson in overcoming fear to embrace necessary change. Finally, let's talk about perhaps one of the most radical and foundational aspects of this approach, inclusivity and non-professionalism.
Our core principles. Traditions 3 and 8.
The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. Think about the profound simplicity and openness of that statement.
Just one requirement, desire.
This means you can declare yourself in, nobody can keep you out. AA does not deny anyone his chance to recover from alcoholism. It truly means anyone.
No barriers to entry except that desire.
And critically, the fellowship should also remain forever non-professional. This radical inclusivity, coupled with a staunch commitment to non-professionalism, are cornerstones of AA. They ensure that help is available to anyone who seeks it, regardless of their background, social status, financial situation, or any other external factor. It reinforces the idea that the shared experience of recovery, rather than professional credentials or social standing, is the most powerful qualification for helping others.
Peer support at its purest.
This raises an incredibly important question for longevity. Why is non-professionalism so vital?
Why not have paid experts?
Early concerns, notably from Mr. Rockefeller, who was a significant early supporter, were about professionalizing us. There was a deep-seated fear that money and prestige could divert the fellowship from its primary purpose.
Money changing the dynamic.
This led to the strong traditions against public solicitation of funds and accepting large gifts. The wisdom articulated was, whoever pays the piper is apt to call the tune.
Maintaining independence.
This foresight protected AA from external influences, financial, political, or otherwise, that could compromise its core mission. It ensures that its service remains pure and untainted by commercial or professional interests.
Keeps the focus on carrying the message.
It maintained the focus squarely on mutual aid, shared experience, and the message of recovery itself, rather than becoming a paid service or a professional institution. It's a brilliant self-preservation strategy.
And this unwavering commitment to inclusivity and self-support means the message remains pure, accessible, and untainted. It's driven purely by shared experience, not by financial gain or professional status.
It's volunteer-driven, peer-to-peer.
This fosters an environment where, as we discussed earlier, attraction is the main force. Individuals are drawn to AA not by flashy advertising campaigns, not by paid services, but by the tangible evidence of recovery they see in its members and the genuine, unconditional connection offered by its community.
Seeing is believing.
This organic growth, fueled by personal transformation and selfless service, has been absolutely central to the fellowship's enduring impact and its ability to touch millions of lives around the globe.
It really is remarkable when you think about it. Hashtag outro. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into working with others, we've seen that it's far more than just offering advice or a simple helping hand.
Much more complex, much richer.
It begins with a profound, almost uncomfortable understanding of the suffering individual's state, rooted in that stark admission of powerlessness and unmanageability.
Understanding step one is key.
It's historically built on the Oxford Group's emphasis on sharing authentic personal experience and fundamentally driven by the helper's own deep need for sustained sobriety and spiritual growth.
That reciprocal relationship.
We've explored how the how is just as crucial as the why, focusing on tact, genuine sharing, reliance on a higher power, and understanding that delicate yet powerful balance of detachment with love.
The art and the science of it.
And you, our listener, have heard how the journey of helping another is so intricately intertwined with your own personal transformation.
It's not separate, it's connected.
It's a path of continuous self-reflection through the steps, an ongoing process of letting go of self-will, embracing profound humility, and contributing your unique voice to a collective conscience that prioritizes unity and equality above all else.
Constant growth for the helper, too.
This process, as one of our sources so powerfully states, is where you actually become healed by courageously reaching out. It's a beautiful, life-affirming paradox where giving freely of yourself leads to your own most profound receiving.
Giving is receiving.
We've explored the history and the very heart of working with others, tracing its origins and its universal applications. And as we leave you to ponder these profound insights, consider this. The early members truly believed that AA must continue to live, or most of us will surely die.
A matter of life and death.
In a world that often feels increasingly fragmented, isolated, and overwhelmed, what fundamental act of shared vulnerability, of genuine connection, and of mutual support could possibly be more crucial for not just individual but collective survival than the simple, powerful act of one person reaching out to another saying, with honesty and empathy, I understand and you are not alone.
A powerful closing thought. You are not alone.
Something to think about, isn't it?